The wealthiest families in America spend less on a first date than you spend on coffee. They also divorce at 4%. These two things are not unrelated. You are 26. You have been on 74 dates in 2 years. You have spent $11,400 on dinners and cocktails and Ubers to restaurants you chose because they photograph well. Not one of them became a relationship. Your grandmother died in March. You are boxing up her bedroom in a house outside Hartford when you find it a velvet-lined jewelry box at the back of the closet, behind 2 shoeboxes and a stack of Christmas cards held together with a rubber band. Inside, between a cameo brooch and a pair of pearl earrings she wore to church every Sunday for 40 years, there is a card. Her handwriting small and certain. 1 sentence. I chose your grandfather because he was the only man who never tried to convince me. You read it twice. It sounds wrong. You have been trying to convince every single one of them. They were married 58 years. Your grandfather was old money trust fund, family name on a library wing, the kind of wealth that never needed to announce itself. You put the card back. 6 years, 5 rules, and losing every version of yourself that wanted it fast. That is what it takes to find someone you keep for 58 years. Old money dating rule 1. Stop auditioning. You have rewritten your Hinge bio 11 times. You know this because the app saves drafts and you have checked. You rotate your first photo based on match rate. The hiking shot outperforms the suit by 40%. So the hiking shot leads, even though you have not hiked since October. You have a prompt strategy. You know which answer gets the most likes, which one starts conversations, which one screens for women who will actually show up. You paid a photographer $250 for dating profile headshots and told your roommate about it, and he nodded like this was normal, because in 2026 it is normal, and the normalcy is part of the machinery you cannot see yet. You are running a funnel. Conversion to first date, about 20%. First date to second, roughly 30%. You have been optimizing the way the internet taught you to optimize everything through data, iteration, and the assumption that more attention means better outcomes. The 4% divorce rate in old money families did not come from better data. It came from the opposite. Old money dating rule 1. Stop auditioning. You have been told to put yourself out there. You have not been told what putting yourself out there actually means to the families who married once and stayed for 60 years. It does not mean maximizing your visibility. It does not mean testing which version of yourself converts best. It means presenting the version you can sustain on a Tuesday morning when you are tired and the lighting is bad and the person next to you is deciding whether you are the same person who showed up in the photos. Old money does not audition. Old money is selected. The distinction is not arrogance. It is the difference between marketing a product and being a person. You delete 2 of your 3 apps. You keep one. You replace the photographer's headshots with the ones your roommate took at a barbecue mid-laugh, slightly sunburned, holding a paper plate. Not trying to look like anything. Matches drop, not by a little, by 60%. The first week is uncomfortable. The number in your app falls the way your bank account does when you stop watching it down, and every instinct says intervene. By the 3rd week, you notice something the optimization never produced. The 40% who remain are asking different questions. Not what do you do, but what are you reading? Not where do you live, but where did you grow up? The performance had been attracting people who were also performing. The absence of it attracted people looking for something they could not verify from a curated grid. You sit with the smaller number for 1 month, then 2. By the 3rd month, you understand something your grandmother's card was trying to tell you. Compounding requires you to stop optimizing. The anxiety of watching your match count is what breaks the chain. Somewhere ahead of you 6 years from now, there is a version of your life that started in this month. A kitchen. A Tuesday. A person who chose you because you were the only one who never tried to convince her. You cannot see it yet. You can only feel the first rule beginning to settle, not as knowledge but as weight, the shift. You stop measuring how many people want you. You start measuring who stays when you stop performing. But you have not yet looked at what you spend on dates, and spending is where the real performance lives. You did not spend $11,400 on dating. You spent it on avoiding being known without a stage. You pull up 2 years of transactions and sort them by category. The numbers are precise in the way that embarrassing things always are. $6,200 on dinners at restaurants you chose because the lighting flatters and the menu price signals taste. $2,100 on cocktails at $18 each at bars with Edison bulbs, and dress codes that exist so everyone inside looks like they belong to the same economic performance. $1,900 on Ubers because the venue was in a neighborhood that says something about you, something you could not say by arriving on the train. $1,200 on outfits worn once. The old money dating rule on spending is the same as the old money rule on everything else. Spend on things that reveal, not things that conceal. The $180 dinner tells her what you can afford. The meal you cook together in a kitchen with a visible dish rack tells her who you are when no one is charging you for the atmosphere. You take someone to a farmer's market on a Saturday. You spend $14. Tomatoes, basil, a sourdough loaf, a bar of dark chocolate you break in half in the car. You cook together in your apartment, which is small and does not photograph well. The date lasts 5 hours. The $180 dinner lasted 90 minutes. Most of it spent performing opinions about wine you selected because the price was visible and the pronunciation was not. You were not present at that dinner. You were managing. The difference between these two dates is not $166. It is the compounding gap between what you spent to be seen and what you could have built by being known. 3 months of changed spending. Your dating costs drop to $340 a quarter. Your savings rate climbs without your income changing. You find this mildly shocking and then find the shock embarrassing, because the mechanism is obvious once you stop participating in the performance that was designed to keep you from seeing it. You begin to understand something that will not fully arrive for years, something your grandmother understood at 20, and you are only now approaching at 27. The person worth choosing, the one she kept for 58 years, will choose based on what you cannot perform: time, attention, the willingness to be ordinary in front of someone on a Tuesday, not the dinner. Not the cocktail, not the Uber to the neighborhood that signals. The Tuesday. The Tuesday is the unit of measurement for everything that lasts. You have changed your presentation. You have changed your spending. You have not yet changed what you broadcast. And in 2026, broadcasting is where the real trap lives, because the performance of love has become more public than love itself. And stopping the broadcast will cost more than stopping the spending ever did. The shift. You stop spending to be chosen. You start spending to be known. Old money dating rule 2. Your relationship is not your identity. Your friend soft launches her boyfriend on a Thursday night. A photo of his watch on her wrist resting on a steering wheel. A single emoji caption. 340 people view the story in 4 hours. She checks the view count 11 minutes later. She does not check whether he has texted back for another hour. The audience came first. The person came second. She does not know that this order is a diagnosis. You start seeing the performance everywhere. The couple who posts from the Amalfi Coast in matching linen outfits bought for the photo grid, not the trip. The friend who refers to her boyfriend as my person in captions and honestly kind of exhausting in the group chat. The entire vocabulary built to turn uncertainty into content. Soft launch, hard launch, talking stage, situationship, the ICA. An industry of words designed to make intimacy feel like a product rollout. You have been speaking this language. You did not know it was a language. You thought it was just how people talked about love in 2026. Old money dating rule 2. Your relationship is not your identity. In 2026, everyone is performing their connection the way they perform their income, the couple photo, the anniversary carousel, the vacation grid, all curated, sequenced, indexed for the approval of people performing the same thing back. 3 months ago, you posted a story from a date. The restaurant, the candlelight, the edge of a cocktail glass. You checked who viewed it before you checked whether you actually enjoyed the conversation. The performance was the product. The relationship was raw material. You stopped sharing. No stories, no posts, no soft anything. The first 3 weeks feel like withdrawal, not because you miss anything, but because you are feeling the absence of a dependency you did not know you had. You feel invisible. You mistake this for loss. A coworker asks if you are still seeing someone in the tone people reserve for someone they assume has been quietly dumped. You say yes. You do not elaborate. Something shifts. People in rooms that matter start watching more carefully, not because you have demonstrated romance, because you have stopped demonstrating need. There is a composure to someone who is not curating their love life for public review. People mistake it for confidence. They are not entirely wrong. What it actually is. The absence of the low-grade anxiety that comes from maintaining a public narrative you have not yet lived. You have no story to protect, no engagement to measure against last month's engagement. The relationship is no longer content. It is becoming architecture. You are 3 months into something that has never appeared on any screen. No one has liked it. No one has rated it. It exists in the only place intimacy has ever compounded. The quiet. But quiet is only the first cost. What comes next is harder building in silence long enough for it to become structural, without ever announcing what you are building or knowing whether it will survive. The shift. You stop dating for the audience. You start dating for the decade. 4 months? No one in your life knows. Not your group chat. Not your sister. Not your Instagram. You have not had the, "What are we?" conversation because you understand now that the conversation is almost always a performance of commitment, not a demonstration of it. You have watched 3 couples define their relationship in 2 weeks and dismantle it in 6. The definition was the content. The relationship was the cost of producing it. Old money does not rush the term sheet. You are investing in consistency the way old money invests in land, not for the initial return, but for what it produces over decades without being sold. You show up on Tuesdays. You text back within the hour, not because you read it in a thread about attachment theory, but because you are present, and presence is not a strategy when it is real. You remember what she said about her father 3 weeks ago, and you ask about it without prompting. You bring her coffee the way she described it once, offhand in a car oat milk, no sugar, slightly too hot. She noticed that you remembered. She did not say so. These are small, correct decisions made quietly. They compound. Your friends cycle through connections measured in weeks. 3-week intensity. 1-week cooldown. The dopamine of the new match. The crash. The app reopened at 11 p.m. on a Sunday with the same photos and the same quiet hope that this time the algorithm will deliver something it was never designed to deliver. The old money rule on silence. The moment you tell someone what you are building, you trade the energy of building for the temporary dopamine of being seen building it. Old money families held marriages for generations without press releases. There is wisdom in the quiet. A friend's relationship 8 months, very public, curated to the caption detonates on a Thursday. The breakup announcement gets 1,400 likes. More engagement than any photo of them together ever received. The audience that watched the performance now watches the wreckage with the same appetite. She says she is fine. You have known her long enough to hear the difference between fine and performing fine. You feel the quiet math of privacy. No audience to disappoint. No narrative to retract. No 1,400 people watching you fail in the same format they watched you succeed. 4 months of compounding in silence. It is already the most structurally sound thing you have built in your adult life. But silence only protects what exists. What comes next will test whether it survives what you are about to be offered, because the easiest threat to something quiet is something loud. The shift. You stop defining what you have. You start defending it. Old money dating rule 3. Protect your name more carefully than your options. The message arrives on a Wednesday at 9:14 p.m. A name you have not seen in 8 months. She is attractive in the way that used to rearrange your evening direct, available, and interested in a way that makes interest feel like a compliment you did not earn. The old version of you would have responded in under 4 minutes. The new version stares at the notification for 3 days. You are 7 months into something unfinished. No label, no post, no public record. If you respond tonight, no one will know. Not your friends, not the person you have been showing up for every Tuesday since January. That is the precise danger. Old money dating rule 3. Protect your name more carefully than your options. This is the rule that takes the longest to understand because in 2026 the word name has been replaced by brand, and the brand is measured in options. Having a rotation, keeping things open, abundance mindset. The entire vocabulary of modern dating engineered to make faithlessness sound like sophistication and restraint sound like scarcity. A name in the old sense, in your grandmother's sense, is what the room believes about you when you are not in it. It is the answer to a question no one asks aloud. Can this person be trusted with something that matters? It is built across years of small correct decisions made when no one is watching. It is destroyed in a single loud wrong one. You do not respond. Not with an explanation. Not with courtesy. You do not respond at all. The silence is the answer. The discomfort lasts a week. You think about the message on 3 separate nights before falling asleep. You feel the pull of the easier path the way you feel gravity, not as a decision, but as a direction you have to actively resist. On the 4th night, you sleep without thinking about it. On the 5th, you forget her last name. The clarity arrives later. It is quieter than the discomfort, but it lasts much longer. You begin to be known in small and specific circles as someone who does not leave. Not impressive by the metrics of 2026, where everyone curates their optionality and calls it self-worth. Genuinely, quietly, functionally reliable. You show up. You stay. You do not audition for the next thing while the current thing is still breathing. This is remarkable enough to be remarkable. Her friends notice. Not because you performed loyalty. Because loyalty, when it is real, has a texture people recognize the way they recognize load-bearing walls. It does not announce itself. It holds things up. An introduction is made, not to another woman, to a part of her life she had been protecting. You meet her father at his kitchen table. Pot roast. Canned beer. The meal cost $22. You have never been trusted with something that expensive. The reputation begins to earn on its own. The name starts compounding. But a compounding name creates a new kind of pressure. The cost of breaking that trust grows with every month you hold it. The chain is longer now. And the next test is not moral. It is temporal. The shift. You stop protecting your options. You stop protecting your name. Old money dating rule 4. Time is the asset that cannot be repurchased. You are 29. 14 months together. You have met her family. She has met yours. No one ever asked, what are we? Because the answer was being built the way structures are built through repetition, load testing, and the slow accumulation of ordinary days. You did not have a DTR conversation. You had 14 months of Tuesdays. Old money dating rule 4. Time is the asset that cannot be repurchased. The rule sounds like a platitude until you feel its weight in the year you are offered something better. A job arrives. Another city. Better title. $127,000, a 40% raise. Your friends say take it. The internet says take it. The culture says the right person will follow, will adapt, will make it work long distance because the culture believes relationships should orbit careers the way moons orbit planets. Something smaller circling something bigger. Old money believes the opposite. The career orbits the structure. The structure is the life you are building with someone in a specific place over a specific period of time, using the one resource that cannot be transferred or optimized. Time. You cannot relocate time. You cannot earn more of it. You can only spend it or waste it, and the difference depends entirely on what you spend it next to. You turn it down. You choose the boring position, the one that does not require relocation or a long-distance phase that survives an average of 14.7 months before one person stops showing up. You choose the version of your career that allows you to be home by 6:30 on a night that does not matter, because the nights that do not matter are the ones that build the floor. You begin to see the cycle underneath the noise. The couples who moved for money and rebuilt from scratch 3 times in 5 years. The friend who chose novelty over stability and is now re-editing his Hinge profile at 31 with updated photos and slightly more careful prompts. The 3-year itch that is not about the relationship, it is about the culture whispering that wanting more is the same as deserving more. It is not. Wanting more is a notification. Deserving it is 14 months of Tuesdays. You can feel the foreshadow of something you cannot yet name. The life ahead of you, the one your grandmother lived for 58 years, will not look like the content. It will not photograph well. It will look like a terrain. Quieter than you expected. Slower. More permanent. You cannot see it yet. But you can feel the shapes of it forming in the decisions you are making now, in this city, next to this person, on a Tuesday. Every month of consistency makes the next month slightly less expensive to sustain. 14 months. The discipline has become structural. A habit so ingrained it no longer costs you anything to maintain. But the quiet life you are building has a price the culture does not warn you about. It does not look like anything. And in a world that only values what it can see, the thing that saves you is the thing no one will ever congratulate you for choosing. The shift. You stop measuring love in milestones. You start measuring it in decades. Old money dating rule 5. Never let them see the count. You are 32. Together 3 years. You buy a ring. Not the ring the internet says you should buy. Not 3 months' salary. Not from a brand that exists so other people can recognize the box before you open it. A $2,200 ring from an estate sale in Connecticut, the same state where your grandmother's jewelry box sat for 40 years. The stone is small and old and set in a way that no one makes anymore. It is not photogenic. She wears it for the rest of her life. Old money dating rule 5. Never let them see the count. You propose on a Wednesday. At home. No photographer behind a tree. No drone. No content. The how did he propose? Story is 3 sentences long and will bore anyone who asks. This is the point. The old money families you have studied, not the celebrities, not the influencer couples, the actual old money, the 3-generation, trust administering, hyphenated dash last dash name families whose marriages survived the Depression and 2 world wars share a single visible trait. You cannot tell from looking at them how much they have invested in each other. No public declarations, no anniversary spectacles. Not because they are modest by nature, but because visibility is a tax. The visible relationship attracts the wrong attention, the comparison, the commentary, the friend who watches your marriage the way she watches content and grades it against her own. Invisibility is protection. Your relationship has no content, no couples account, no anniversary post. 4 people know how long you have been together. One of them is her mother. You do not feel like the content. You do not feel like the reels. You feel like someone who has made 1,000 small correct decisions in a row for 6 years and is now living inside the result of those decisions, which feels less like a destination and more like a terrain. Quieter than you expected. Slower. More permanent. The algorithm still runs. It is still selling urgency. Still measuring you against men with ring lights who found a faster way to look devoted. Some of them found it. Most of them are performing the finding, and the performance is the product. You have stopped watching, not out of contempt, out of irrelevance. The performance was never aimed at someone who already had a life. The display of love is the first expenditure of the insecure. You wear a plain band on your left hand. $180, not the right brand. You will wear it until the metal thins. 6 years of Tuesdays, 4 of them before anyone knew. The weight of what you have built is not in the ring or the ceremony or the photo that does not exist. It is in the accumulation of mornings the coffee made without asking, the argument repaired before noon, the silence that is not empty but full, the way she reaches for your hand in a parking lot without looking, as though your hand is a thing that has always been there. You did not become someone different. You became someone permanent. You are 34, married 2 years. Your daughter is 4 months old. She has her mother's hands and your inability to fall back asleep once the sun hits the window. You hold her at 5 a.m. in a kitchen that does not photograph well, and you feel the weight of something the algorithm cannot package, the specific gravity of a life built slowly enough to bear weight. The feeling is not excitement. It is not the dopamine of a new match or the rush of a first message or the performance of a life well curated. It is what remains when the performance stops, and the person is still there, and the kitchen is quiet, and the coffee is the same coffee made the same way every morning for 6 years. Ordinary. Load-bearing. Yours. The dating apps still run. You deleted yours 8 years ago. The algorithm did not notice your absence. It does not track the ones who leave quietly. It only counts the ones who return. Somewhere tonight, a 26-year-old is sitting in his car outside a restaurant he cannot afford, adjusting his collar, checking his phone. He has spent $11,400 in 2 years on dinners, cocktails, and Ubers to neighborhoods that say something about him. He will probably keep swiping. The algorithm will recapture his attention before the check arrives. The noise is very loud in 2026. The quiet is very far from the screen. But if he stops, if he deletes 2 of the 3 apps and sits with the smaller number long enough for the 40 to start asking different questions, if he follows the first rule and then the second, if he stops sharing and lets the silence become architecture, if he shows up on Tuesdays and remembers the coffee order and does not respond to the message at 9:14 p.m. on a Wednesday and lets the silence be the answer, if he turns down the job in the other city and chooses the boring position and buys the ring from the estate sale and proposes in a kitchen on a day that does not photograph well, he will not become someone different. He will become someone with options. Real ones, the kind you cannot swipe into. The kind that take the one resource old money always understood better than any generation since. Time. Patience. The willingness to compound in silence. Somewhere in a velvet-lined jewelry box, in a house in Connecticut that will be sold next spring, there is a card in a woman's handwriting. 1 sentence. It has been true for 58 years. The card costs nothing. The rules are free. The only thing they will cost you is the version of yourself that wanted it fast. If this one stayed with you, leave a thought below. Subscribe for more.